Recording. All right. Hello, hello, hello. This is Live with Michelle Van. We are here. We are talking about life, health, and all of those things that make us amazing. Today, this month, we are talking about mental health specifically because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we are here with Dr. Rhonda Simmons.
Hello, 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 Dr. Michelle. How are you?
I am amazing. How are you?
I am excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
So I have done a few things with Dr. Rhonda. We have done a few workshops around being a pastor's wife and some other things. And so as we were looking at and calling out for people to come on and talk about mental health, Dr. Rhonda reached out and said, "Oh, yes, let me come on. Let's have a conversation." And so she is here today. So, Dr. Rhonda, tell us who you are and what you do in the world.
All righty. Well, I am a retired school principal. Yes, I made it to this point
Recover,
in my career.
recovering educator.
Yes, yes, that is well said. But I'm also in ministry, and I have been for over 30 years, been in education for over 15 years. And so when you put the two of those together, it really situates me in a prime place for my executive leadership coaching, because I bring the combination of a pastoral care mentality along with education. And I am I would say self-diagnosed as being neurodivergent. And the reason why I say that, I don't take it lightly. The reason why I say that is being in education, you see a lot of things with
Mhm.
students. And while I am a doctor in educational leadership and not in medicine or psychology, you just see a whole lot of things,
Yeah.
and you see the patterns. And so I started recognizing things in myself.
Hmm.
And so I realized that I could use that as a strength and not a weakness. It makes me unique, and I see things from different perspectives, multiple perspectives, unlike a lot of people who may just see things, from a very narrow perspective. And
Hmm.
so that's what I built my coaching practice on, as well as working with C-suite women as well to help them avoid burnout.
Yeah. So think about when, education. Again, we have that whole we're recovering educators and getting to that place where we are not just surviving but thriving. And how have you seen when we talk about mental health? How have you seen education change over the time that you've been in it?
Oh my goodness. The pressure is on. And it's from the district superintendents on down, it just trickles all the way down to the classroom. And it's because there are state standards and state requirements that have to be met. And if your school doesn't meet them, then, it's like academic taboo,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's a constant pressure to perform. And one of the things that I learned through my dissertation was that everything really rests not on the teachers as much as it's on the principal,
Yeah.
because teachers will only give as much as the principal um, sets forth that culture on the campus.
Mm-hmm.
And they will produce, they have the capacity to produce good results. But when that principal has checked out, the campus has checked out. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of pressure. Everything rolls back on the principal, even if you're not on campus.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of pressure to have to deal with, and the mental weight of it all can be extreme.
Yeah, so think about, just talk a little bit about you had the pressure of being in administration because when you left, you were assistant principal, correct?
Principal.
You were the principal, okay. So walking out as a principal, so there's pressure there, and then there's pressure on the side of being a pastor's wife.
The similarities, I find to be so uh, closely interrelated. It's just unbelievable. I guess I could sum it up this way, Dr. Michelle, is that if you're not comfortable being everyone's cheerleader and you're always on, whether it's for your church or for your campus, then you need to rethink your role
Woo!
because
Come
it,
on.
seriously, because you're always up. You know, everyone thinks that leadership is glamorous and it's wonderful. Oh, first lady this and pastor that and principal that. They don't know what it costs. They
It
don't
has a
know.
cost.
Yes, absolutely. They don't know how much that smile is hurting you. And I don't mean just hurting your face, having to have that positive attitude all the time when in your mind, you are the exact opposite. And so if you can't handle being a full-time cheerleader for the people that you serve, then you really need to rethink your role and seek God about where you should be, because that is a huge part of it.
All right, we will be right. Hello, hello. We are back. We are back. We are talking to Dr. Rhonda. We ended up the last segment and we were talking about the fact that, whether you're in ministry or whether you're in other forms of leadership, it has a cost. It costs you, we used to have that saying, it costs you to be the boss. And it really does. There is a mental health cost. Let's talk about that. What is it? What do you see? In doing executive coaching, what do you see the cost of that mental health weight in leadership looks like?
Well, interestingly enough, I think the cost varies by gender.
Mm,
When it comes to men and women, um, we approach things differently. And for women, especially women of color, we have this ingrained sense of we have to work twice as hard to get half as much. I don't
absolutely.
care how many degrees we have, how many years of experience, that's ingrained in us.
Hmm.
And because of that, we are sacrificing our health. We are sacrificing our families. We're sacrificing our relationships with God. We're sacrificing everything, not to mention finances,
Yes.
everything. We are making the ultimate sacrifices so that we can hope to be successful and
Hmm.
to experience some gains. And the problem with this, and I'll give you an example. Um, I have been dealing with a heart condition for the past several years,
Hmm.
and once I became school principal, it accentuated that heart condition. Excuse me, heart condition. It just continued to get worse and continued to get worse, and even on the day that I resigned, teacher came into my office to tell me about some craziness going on the campus. And while she was sitting there, my heart went into AFib.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and so I'm sitting there watching her thinking, lady, you have no idea what's going on with me right now. But because I'm the principal, I didn't want to dismiss her and make her feel like she didn't matter. You see the pressure? And so
Absolutely.
I'm sitting there needing medication, needing to lay down, but I'm denying myself that for the good of this teacher and my campus. Um, and I tell you, once I resigned, I was just telling my husband last night, I remember that day because the further I got away from the campus, the better I felt. Literally, literally. It was really weird. I mean, the more miles I put between myself and the campus, the better I felt. And my health has improved significantly since then.
Hmm.
Um, and I would have to say too, Dr. Michelle, is that part of it is you have to know if you're out of alignment with God's purpose
Woo,
for
come
your
on
life,
with that.
because that was the heart of it for me.
Yeah.
Because I had been working over a decade to become a principal.
Hmm.
And then once I got it literally overnight, I'm like, oh my goodness, no, 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 no. And the longer I stayed, the sicker I got. And it really made me realize that when you are out of alignment with God,
Yeah.
there's a cost to that too. And
Mm,
and so once I made that decision to leave, and I was scared to death because I was one of those people, you're taking me from the familiar, although it was uncomfortable, to unfamiliar territory.
right,
And I had to go. I had to go. I couldn't, the Lord would not let me go any further than September the 6th, and that was my last day.
right.
And, and so if you want to have healthy mental health, then you need to make sure that you're in alignment with God and that you are, besides putting Him first, that you are putting your health and your family first, well, second, after God, so that you can walk in the fullness of what God has for you.
So if there's someone listening, lady, man, person is listening here today, maybe even a high schooler is listening to our conversation, and they're saying, well, how do I know if I'm in alignment? How do I identify whether or not I truly am in alignment? I'm feeling some kind of way about where I'm going and what I'm doing, but how can I really identify what I'm supposed to be doing?
Well, first of all, God operates in seasons,
Mm,
and you have to know what season that you're in. And there's no shortcut around to spending time with God in prayer and fasting and Bible reading and studying. There are no shortcuts to that. And so you need to spend time with God and ask Him those questions. 9 times out of 10, though, your purpose is something that's been with you all the time.
hmm
It's the thing that you can do in your sleep, so to speak, every day and twice on Sunday. It's what you do, it's who you are. And it happens so easily because it was what you were born to do. Now, I know that I was born to lead,
hmm
but that doesn't necessarily mean being principal. And
Mm.
I can tell
Let's
you,
let's uh
go
let's
ahead.
let's stop right there. We will come right back. This is on the show. Van, we're talking to Dr. Rhonda, and we will be right back. Our last segment, ended our last segment, and you were talking about that just because you are called to be a leader does not necessarily mean that you're the principal,
Yes.
or that you are the pastor's wife, or that you are the CEO of this corporation, or that you're called to be an entrepreneur. Leadership
Mhm.
looks has a lot of different facets.
Mhm. Yes, yes, and yes. You know what I'm thinking about, Dr. Michelle? I'm thinking about the fact that so many people, especially younger people who aspire to be pastors, and they have this preconceived idea, that it's glamorous and that, oh, you just preach a little word and make the people feel good. And then you receive the tithes and offerings. And then, you get with your driver, because apparently pastors can't drive themselves to church anymore. But I don't know when that switch happened, but they get with the driver and I'm sorry, I just had a moment. And
Yeah,
yeah, it just,
get it?
so there's this certain expectation that they have, and they don't have a clue,
Yeah.
you know. Um, they don't have a clue, Dr. Michelle, of what it takes, and that pastoring, above all, is one of the most abused
Come
positions.
on, come on, come on.
I was just talking with a pastor's wife just the other day, and she said it's one of the most abused positions,
hmm
because pastors and their wives, they don't have the luxury of, telling you how they really feel. and telling you off and, taking off the glasses and, okay, I got a word for you. And it may or may not be from the Lord. They don't have that luxury, no matter how the members come at them. And you
Right.
and I both know the church members don't always come at you right. And you
Exactly.
got to show forth the love of God. And that is why the Bible says that God has given us pastors after his own heart,
Yeah.
and ministry is people.
Yes.
If ministers don't know that, they need to go somewhere and sit down, because ministry is people.
Yeah.
And I don't care how good you can preach, Dr. Michelle. I guess you can tell I'm passionate about this. I don't care how good you can preach. If you don't know how to serve the people that God
Mhm.
has assigned to your hands, then all of that good preaching that really doesn't have any effect.
Because the service first.
Yes, yes. I'll give you another analogy, um, real quick. I told you that there were so many similarities that I noticed between education and pastoring. One
Hmm.
of them is in education, I had a campus full of teachers and all of that, and all different personalities.
Yeah.
And what I found was there were some, they would come ask me a question, and I tell them, one, two, three, go do this. And we're good, type A drivers, we're good. Others, I had to take time, sit down, schedule a meeting, talk to them about the reasons why we had to do things. And what I found was my message never changed, but my delivery changed.
The methodology had to change.
Yes, yes, because you have to leave the people intact, even when you have to say no.
Hmm.
You have to leave their dignity intact, or you're going to have an empty church and an empty campus.
Yeah.
So, and so it's important. It's important that we know how to lead and how to interact with people and serve them to the best of our abilities.
Hmm. When you're thinking about mental health and the church, how does that really, we have these ideas about, we should just pray about it and, you know, move on. But what happens when we've prayed about it and we've done all of these things, yet we're still struggling?
Okay, so I'm gonna have some real talk right here. Okay,
Hmm.
I've been in ministry for over 30 years, 30 consecutive years, and I don't take pride in sharing this, but the real talk is I know what it is to have suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, the preacher, the ordained preacher. I know what it is to have suicidal thoughts
Hmm.
where no degree helped me. Um, and I was past the point of praying. I had nothing to say, and I had those suicidal thoughts. And, I grew up in a very, very traditional church that was kind of like what you said, let's pray about it, trust God, and keep it moving.
Hmm.
There's a whole lot of people in our churches today, they need to go see somebody. They really do. Someone professional. And they need to sit down and have those conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. This is Live with Michelle Van. We are talking today about mental health, and we will be right back. We're back. We are back. We are talking to Dr. Rhonda, and we've been talking about, mental health, and that, there are some real things that happen with people. Just because give God your hand does not necessarily mean that you won't have any problems. Because we are human and we live on this earth, and on this earth there is sin, and on this earth there is stuff that happens, and sometimes it happens in our mind and in our spirit. And so, as someone who may be sitting here listening and they're saying, oh, I need to talk to this lady a little bit more. I want to have some more conversation. What would it look like? What does your coaching practice look like?
My coaching practice, Dr. Michelle, is centered around a program called Renew You.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, the focus is on the client, but in having what I call legacy alignment conversations with potential clients, we begin to walk through what their needs are.
Mhm.
because I don't believe in just throwing programs at people, and the program doesn't fit them. And so, yeah, that's a waste of everyone's time and energy. And so I have some clients where their needs require my Renew You discipleship community, which is a
Mhm.
membership specifically for women of faith from all over the world, to connect and to who want some mentoring and discipleship
Mhm.
beyond just Sunday service,
Mhm.
and where we really dig in to find out, what does God say? Not
Right.
opinion, not tradition. What does God say? Then there are other women who may be executives who are on the verge of burnout when it comes to their marriages, their callings, their careers. And so that faction of Renew You is geared to the C-suite women
Mhm.
who need help avoiding the burnout or recovering from it.
Mhm.
Not only that, but it also helps set them up to build legacy. You know, what
Mhm.
happens next? You know,
Yeah.
now that I'm retired as a principal, what happens next? What is
Right.
the legacy you want to leave behind? And so the program is really tailor-made for client-specific needs, whether it's just spiritual or it's in executive leadership, or it could be both, because I
Mhm.
do combine faith and leadership together in what I do.
And when that's who you are, there's no way to really separate those things.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, we're walking by faith. That's who we are. That's, we're preachers at heart. And so there's not a real way to separate those things. Because no matter what, I'm going to talk to you. I may not call him God, but I'm going to talk to you about what he's done and his principles.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I have found, even when been in a group and I say, now, you may not believe in the Bible, but let's just address it as an excellent book of literature with
That.
life principles. Yeah,
Mhm.
with life principles that have not wavered, and they work. And
Yeah,
so that's what I go by, whatever you want to call it, but I am who I am.
yeah,
Everybody wants to be authentic. Well, this is the authentic me.
absolutely. Do you have books and literature that people need to be out there looking for?
Yes, one of my latest books is called Dear Future Me. The
Mhm.
Journey Begins, and it's written like a devotional. And the reason why that book is so pivotal, because yes, it supports your journey in your walk with God, but I also use it for my executive leadership coaching as well, because there are several principles in the book that translate well into the leadership community. And so it's a great resource to have. There's a workbook coming out soon to go along with it. And so it is on Amazon as well as Barnes and Noble. And so you can get the ebook or the paperback.
Amazing. Where are you on socials or?
Yes, I am on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. Um, and I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, especially. And you can find me on LinkedIn. My username, I don't know what you call it. My username is TSEFIORG. I know that was a lot, but that is the acronym for my nonprofit organization called the Simmons Empowerment Foundation Incorporated. So that's a
Okay.
lot. And so that's why I just abbreviated it. But you will find me, or you can search by my name. I will come up. I'm there.
And so they can find you on LinkedIn. They can find you on Facebook. Do you have Facebook groups are you live? What are you doing on Facebook?
Yes, I have my Renew You Discipleship private Facebook group, um, and it's for the members of the community.
Mm-hmm.
I also have an Empower Her leadership network, and I actually am almost at the end of a hiatus that I had, and so now I'm back, and I'm looking forward to moving forward.
We are so glad that you were here to share with us today. This was Dr. Rhonda Simmons, And we have been talking about mental health. We've been talking about how church and leadership and school and all of those things smash together, because one of the things that you find is a whole lot of pastors' wives are teachers. It just works out that way. It gives us our summers off, and well, gives us our summers where we are not at a school and we can work at the church, which is what generally happens. And so it is always a pleasure to converse with you and to have time for us to just commune. And I thank you for taking the time to be with me today. And I appreciate you. This is Live with Michelle Van, where we talk about health, wealth, and spirituality. And you know what? We love you, and there is nothing you can do about it. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.